The signal. The galaxy had grown used to silence. For centuries, no one had spoken of humans except in hushed whispers and half-forgotten legends. The council worlds taught their young that humanity had burned itself out long ago. Too wild. Too dangerous, too unpredictable to survive. It was easier to believe they were gone. But on this night, everything changed. Across thousands of star systems, screens flickered to life. In military bases, trade stations, and quiet homes, the same words pulsed in blood-red letters. Emergency broadcast. Human Dreadnought incoming. Impact is inevitable. No one at first believed it. Rumors of ghost signals had appeared before. Tricks of static or echoes from old wars. But this one was different. It carried weight. It carried power. And worst of all, it carried coordinates. In the heart of the Zerathian council chamber, the highest leaders of the galaxy gathered. The hall was a place of calm and order, carved from shining crystal, but tonight it shook with voices of fear. "This is impossible," hissed Chancellor Veyron, his scaled hands trembling. "Humans have been gone for 300 years. "Gone," corrected General Takar, "does not mean dead." His voice was low, heavy, as though dragged from a place he wished to forget. "I fought them once. I know their craft. If this signal is true, then something survived. Something worse than we imagined." At the center of the chamber, the projection of the human ship grew clearer with every passing second. The silhouette was massive, dwarfing any warship the aliens had ever built. Jagged plating stretched across its surface like scars, each one a reminder of battles fought long before. Its engines burned not with ordinary plasma, but with something deeper, something almost alive. A young officer from the council guard laughed, nervously. "It's a trick. A false signal meant to scare us. No ship that size could move at such speed. The energy requirements alone." "Silence!" roared General Takar. His eyes glowed with memory. "Do not make the mistake of underestimating them. That ship," he jabbed a clawed finger at the projection, "is a dreadnought, and if it is truly human, then our fleets mean nothing." The word spread like fire. Dreadnought. Whole planets froze. Merchants abandoned their cargo runs mid-flight. Miners fled the dark edges of space. Families locked their doors, though they lived light years away. The very idea of a human dreadnought was enough to paralyze entire worlds. For humanity had not been remembered as conquerors. No, they were remembered as survivors. Creatures who fought beyond reason, who turned weakness into weapons, who clawed victory from impossible odds. They had waged wars not for empire, but for survival, and in doing so had taught the galaxy a terrible lesson. Humans did not fear the impossible. Now the impossible was coming back. Another wave of the emergency broadcast filled the chamber, louder, this time more urgent. "Warning, human dreadnought approaching, impact in 36 hours, impact is inevitable." Admiral Crix, commander of the Council Defense Fleets, rose from his seat. His feathers stood on end, glittering under the chamber lights. "We must prepare to intercept. Rally every ship we have. If humanity has returned, then we strike first." "Strike first?" Chancellor Veyron spat. "Against that, look at it. One dreadnought is worth 100 of our fleets. You cannot fight a storm, you can only survive it." The chamber descended into chaos, voices overlapping, fear choking reason. Some demanded war, others begged for surrender, and some prayed to ancient gods long forgotten. In the silence that followed, General Takar spoke again. His voice was almost a whisper, but every ear heard him. "I was young when I first saw them fight," he said. "They were outnumbered 10-1. Their ships were breaking apart, and still they laughed. They fought with broken weapons, with fire in their eyes. And when we thought them beaten, they lit the stars with their fury. That night, we lost more than a battle. We lost certainty." He leaned forward, claws scraping against the crystal table. "If that is truly a human ship, then the galaxy will never be the same. Impact is not only inevitable, it is destiny." Far above, in the cold silence of space, the dreadnought moved, It did not broadcast demands, it did not send threats, only the repeating signal, echoing like a heartbeat across the stars. Impact is inevitable, and deep within its armored hull, something stirred. A shadowed figure, human in shape, opened his eyes. His breath fogged the chamber as ancient systems hummed to life around him. He whispered to no one but himself, his voice carrying the weight of centuries. They thought we were gone. They thought wrong. Shadows of the past, the broadcast, did not stop. Every hour, across every channel, the words repeated, "Emergency broadcast, Human Dreadnought incoming. Impact is inevitable." On the trade world of Vera, crowds gathered around public screens. Merchants abandoned their stalls. Children stared wide-eyed, asking their parents what the message meant. No one could answer. Some whispered that humans were only stories, monsters told to frighten younglings. Others swore the old tales were true, and that the monsters were now awake. In the council chamber, panic had settled into a suffocating silence. The great leaders of 1,000 systems stared at the floating image of the dreadnought, its enormous frame slowly drawing nearer on the star maps. Chancellor Veyron broke the silence first. "We must remind ourselves," he said, his voice shaking, "that humanity is dead. Their colonies burned. Their fleets shattered. They fought too many wars. They destroyed themselves." But General Takar shook his head slowly. "You speak of history as you wish it had been, not as it was." The younger officers leaned closer. Their training spoke of efficiency, not myths, but they could not resist the weight in the general's tone. "Tell them," urged Admiral Crix. "They should know." General Takar closed his eyes. Memories rushed back, memories he had buried but never forgotten. "I was there," he began, "at the siege of Zeros. The humans had one world left, nothing but deserts and broken cities. We believed it would fall in a day. We brought 20 fleets, 20. His claws clenched the edge of the table. "And yet, it took years. Every street, every canyon, every shadow, humans turned them all into weapons." One officer laughed nervously. "How could primitives resist against a full fleet?" "They are not primitives," Takar growled. "They are stubborn beyond reason. When they ran out of guns, they used blades. When they ran out of blades, they fought with stone. And when we thought them finished, they set their own cities on fire, burning both us and themselves. We did not win. We survived. Do you understand?" Silence filled the chamber. Even Admiral Crix did not speak. Legends had painted humanity in two shades: brilliant creators and terrifying destroyers. They were the species who had crafted machines that bent stars, yet also carried fire in their bare hands when machines failed. The Council had always told itself that such a species could not last. But if even one ship had endured, then the stories had been true. Across the galaxy, the fear spread. On a mining station in the Karun Belt, old veterans gathered, their faces pale. One of them, an aged Varan with trembling tusks, muttered, "I saw them once. I swore never to speak of it. But if that ship comes here, the old nightmare returns." On the farming world of Alara, priests dusted off ancient scrolls, scriptures written during the last human wars. They read aloud the warnings: "Beware the children of Earth. They do not surrender. They do not die as others die. They rise again and again until the stars themselves fall silent." Not everyone believed. In dark bars and bustling ports, young smugglers mocked the fear. "It's just an old ghost ship," one laughed, "probably falling apart already. The humans are dust." But even as they joked, their eyes darted nervously to the skies. Back in the council chamber, Admiral Crix tapped the glowing projection. "We cannot wait. Whether it is myth or reality, that ship is coming. We will assemble every fleet, every weapon," Chancellor Veyron hissed. "And if it is truly human, do you think our fleets matter? Do you not know the stories? Even the machines feared them." The projection flickered again, sharper now. The dreadnought's scarred hull came into focus. Symbols could be seen on its plating, human symbols burned deep, still glowing faintly. General Takar stared at them. He remembered those markings. They were not decoration. They were warnings. Suddenly, the emergency broadcast changed. The words still pulsed, but now a sound accompanied them, a deep, resonant echo. It was not static. It was a heartbeat. Ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. The chamber shook with the sound. Officers clutched their ears. Across alien colonies, people screamed as the beat echoed through their devices. "Impossible," whispered Veyron. "It cannot be." But General Takar knew. His chest tightened with memory. "It is human," he said. "The heartbeat of a soldier. They are telling us they are alive." The realization spread like a plague. Not only was the dreadnought real, it was speaking in the simplest, most terrifying language of all. The reminder that humans were still flesh and blood, and they were coming. And as the heartbeat grew louder, the galaxy remembered what it had tried to forget. Humans were not myths, humans were not dust, humans were storms. The gathering storm, the heartbeat would not stop. Across the stars it echoed, slow, steady, unyielding. In military command rooms, generals tried to mute it, but the sound always returned. On civilian worlds, frightened families shut down their screens, yet the heartbeat pulsed even through dead channels. It was as if the galaxy itself was carrying the signal. Ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. Every pulse brought the dreadnought closer. In the Zerathian council chamber, Admiral Crix slammed his claws on the table. "Enough!" he roared. "We cannot sit here listening to ghosts. Assemble the fleets. I want destroyers in every sector." "But you don't understand," Chancellor Veyron spat, eyes wide with terror. "This is not a fleet to be met with numbers. This is a storm. You cannot block a storm, you must run from it." General Takar, silent until now, rose slowly. "You can run," he said darkly, "but the storm always finds you. Do you not hear it? That heartbeat is not a warning. It is a promise." The chamber fell into silence again. Outside the crystal walls, lightning storms danced across the skies of the Council's capital world. The weather itself seemed unsettled, as if the planet knew something terrible was approaching. Far away, in the black ocean of space, the dreadnought stirred. Inside its colossal hull, ancient lights flickered on for the first time in centuries. Dust drifted down like snow as dormant machines woke from their slumber. Steel corridors groaned with life, energy surging through veins of metal. At the center, in a chamber lined with cryopods, one opened with a hiss. Cold mist spilled out, curling across the floor. A man stepped forward. His breath came ragged at first, chest rising against the weight of years. His hair was streaked with gray, his face scarred by battles that the galaxy had forgotten. But his eyes burned with something undimmed. Human. Commander Elias Kane. His hand brushed against the frost-covered console. The systems recognized him, instantly. Lights flared brighter, weapons powered in silence. Engines thrummed like a beast waking from its sleep. Kane looked at the projection blooming before him. Alien fleets moving, council worlds panicking, the galaxy drowning in fear. He almost smiled. "They still remember," he murmured. His voice was hoarse but steady. "Good. Fear will make them listen." The ship spoke back in a deep mechanical tone, its AI awakening with him. Status: critical. Hull integrity 73%, weapon banks and functional. Mission directive: deliver the message. Kane nodded. "And if they resist?" The AI paused. Then calmly, "Impact is inevitable." Back in the alien heartworlds, fleets began to gather. Massive armadas formed at rally points. Shining cruisers, swift interceptors, war carriers bristling with cannons. Every empire, even rival ones, suddenly shared the same enemy. On the barren moon of Xylor, soldiers marched in endless lines. They carried banners of different worlds, but their faces were the same, haunted. They had all heard the heartbeat. "This is madness," one young recruit whispered to another as they loaded plasma rifles. "It's just one ship." "One ship," the Older veteran beside him snarled, "You don't know what one ship means. You weren't there when humans turned broken fleets into fire. You weren't there when they used asteroids as weapons, when they poisoned stars themselves. Pray you never see it." The recruit said no more. In the council chamber, Admiral Crix received the latest report. His feathers shimmered with barely contained rage. 83 fleets assembled, the officer said. "We can intercept within 20 hours. "Good," Crix said. "We'll crush this ghost before it reaches our core." But General Takar shook his head. His eyes never left the map, where the Dreadnought symbol advanced like an arrow through the stars. "You don't crush a ghost, Admiral. You become one yourself." The chamber's lights flickered suddenly as though the signal had pierced even their defenses. The heartbeat roared through the speakers again. Faster now. Louder. Ba-dum. 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 And then, for the first time, a voice joined it. "Galactic Council," the message said. The voice was human, deep and resonant, carrying a weight that froze every creature in the chamber. "You tried to erase us. You failed. We remember everything. And now, you will remember us." The broadcast ended. The council sat frozen, their faces pale, their hearts pounding to match the rhythm. On the Dreadnought, Commander Kane stood tall in the command chamber. His scarred hand rested on the console as the galaxy's fear poured back to him in waves. He could feel their panic. He could almost taste it. "Not war," he whispered to himself. "Not yet. First they must know who we are, what we endured, what we became." The AI hummed in reply, its voice like steel grinding against stone. Message delivered, awaiting impact. Kane looked out the viewport at the endless stars. Each one represented a world that had once mocked, feared, or betrayed humanity. Each one was about to learn a truth they had buried too deep. Humans do not vanish. Humans endure. And as the gathering storm of alien fleets prepared to strike, the lone human dreadnought pressed on, unstoppable. Impact was inevitable. First contact, the fleets came like waves of silver fire. 83 alien armadas filled the void, their ships glittering against the dark like stars forged into weapons, cruisers the size of cities, carriers bristling with interceptors, and destroyers built to shatter moons, all aligned in a crescent wall across the human dreadnought's path. It was a sight meant to terrify any enemy. But the dreadnought did not turn. Inside the Council Command Center, Admiral Crix stood tall as the armadas linked together. "Form the blockade. Close the jaws. No ship, human or otherwise, can pass." His voice rang with confidence, but his eyes betrayed the truth. Fear lingered there, sharp as glass. The Council Chamber's projection shifted to show the human ship drawing closer. The alien fleets pulsed with weapon signatures, targeting arrays painting the dreadnought in red light. The galaxy held its breath, and then the heartbeat came again. Louder, stronger, ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. The sound rattled through every vessel, echoing in every pilot's bones. Some clutched their helmets, others froze at their stations. It was not a machine's rhythm. It was human, alive, defiant. Commander Elias Kane stood in the center of his warship, silent as the storm gathered before him. Through the viewport he saw the countless fleets, so many enemies, so many worlds united in fear. His scarred lips curved into the faintest smile. "Numbers," he said softly. "Always numbers. They never learn." The AI's voice resonated in the chamber. "Hostile fleets positioned. They will strike in 60 seconds. Recommend counterfire." Kane shook his head. "No, let them strike first. Let them believe they can touch us." "Impact risk. Extreme," the AI warned. Kane's eyes glowed with cold determination. "We survived extinction, let them try." The first shot came from a Zarathian destroyer. A blazing spear of plasma ripped through the dark, followed by a storm of energy bolts from 100 ships. The void lit up with fire as the alien fleets unleashed everything at once. The dreadnought vanished into blinding light. In the council chamber, cheers erupted. "Direct hit!" cried one officer. "Shields collapsing!" shouted another. For a moment it seemed the legends had been exaggerated. For a moment they believed they had won. Then the light faded. The dreadnought was still there. Its hull, scarred and ancient, glowed faintly as if the attacks had been swallowed whole. The weapon's fire left nothing but ripples across its plating, absorbed like rain against a mountain. Silence fell. Across the fleet's alien captains stared in disbelief. And then, the dreadnought spoke. Not in alien tongue, not through translation, software, but in raw human voice, broadcast into every ship, every headset, every mind. "This is not war," Commander Kane said. His voice was calm, almost cold. "This is remembrance. You feared we were gone. You were wrong." The alien fleets trembled. Pilots shifted nervously in their seats. Some whispered prayers, others gritted their teeth. Admiral Crix snarled and slammed his fist against the console. "All ships, again destroy it." The second wave of fire came, torpedoes streaked forward. Beams of raw energy cut across the void. Explosions bloomed around the dreadnought, but still it moved forward unharmed. Then for the first time the human ship answered. Its forward batteries opened like the jaws of a beast. No flashy lights, no wasted fire, just precise, merciless strikes. One beam of white energy lanced outward, slicing an enemy cruiser clean in half. Another tore through a carrier, scattering interceptors into burning debris. In moments, whole wings of the fleet were gone, erased as if they had never existed. Panic spread through the armadas. "It's impossible," cried a captain. "No, ship can carry that much power." But General Takar, watching from the council chamber, whispered the truth. "It's not the ship. It's the human inside it." Inside the dreadnought, Kane's hands moved across the console with the precision of a surgeon. His eyes glimmered as he saw the fleet's formations collapse under his strikes. "They still think in lines," he murmured. "In order. Predictable. That is why they will always lose." The AI hummed. "Enemy resistance weakening. Shall I calculate extermination path?" Kane shook his head. "No. Not extermination. Message." The ship obeyed. Instead of destroying the fleets entirely, its weapons struck with intent, crippling engines, disabling weapons, leaving ships adrift. Kane wanted survivors, witnesses. Back in the council chamber, horror settled over the leaders. Their mightiest, fleets were falling apart and the dreadnought was barely trying. Chancellor Veyron whispered, "We cannot stop it, we never could." Admiral Crick slammed his claws against the table. "No, we fight until the last ship burns. Better to die than to kneel to them again." But General Takar only shook his head. "You do not understand. This is not conquest. This is warning. Humanity does not want surrender. They want remembrance." The projection zoomed closer to the dreadnought's hull. The alien leaders saw it clearly now. Rows of markings etched into the steel. They were not symbols of victory. They were names. Thousands of names. The names of the dead. Commander Kane's voice echoed one last time, chilling the galaxy. "We are not invaders. We are not ghosts. We are survivors. And we have returned to remind you of what survival means." The heartbeat followed his words, steady and final. Badum, badum, badum. And then, without another strike, the dreadnought turned. It passed through the crippled fleets, moving deeper toward the galactic core, its engines burning brighter than suns. The alien armadas did not follow. They could not. For in that moment, every captain, every soldier, every leader understood one truth. Impact was inevitable. Impact is inevitable. The battlefield lay silent. Wreckage drifted across the void. Burning, fragments of proud fleets that had once ruled the stars. Alien ships, crippled but not destroyed, spun helplessly in the dark. Pilots gasped in fear. Officers whispered broken orders, but no one dared to move against the human ship again. The dreadnought moved on, unhurried, unstoppable. Its engines burned with ancient fury, a single shadow cutting through the galaxy's brightest defenses. Inside the council chamber, no one spoke. The great leaders of 1,000 systems could only watch as their fleets failed. Their voices, the same that once mocked humanity as reckless as extinct, were gone. Finally, Chancellor Veyron whispered the words that none dared admit aloud. "It is not a warship," he said. "It is a monument, a warning carved into steel." General, Takar's eyes narrowed. "No, it is a messenger, and we would be wise to listen." On the Dreadnought's bridge, Commander Elias Kane stood with his hands behind his back, his gaze fixed on the stars ahead. His ship moved through wreckage, without slowing, as though the fleets had never been there. The AI's voice hummed around him. "Enemy resistance neutralized. Course unchanged. Time to arrival at galactic core, 20 hours. Kane's scarred face remained unreadable. "Good. Let them spread the story. Let them fear before they see." "Message incomplete. These here," AI replied. "Do you wish to transmit again?" Kane turned slowly, his eyes reflecting the endless void. "Yes. But this time, they will see what it cost us." The broadcast changed. Across every colony, every station, every ship, screens flickered. Again, citizens gathered terrified, expecting another threat. Instead, they saw something they had never imagined. Images. Falling cities. Burning skies. Human worlds torn apart under alien sieges. Men, women, and children standing in the ruins with nothing left, yet still fighting. Footage of soldiers holding the line against impossible odds, screaming in defiance even as their weapons failed. Starships ramming enemies head-on when their cannons went dark. Civilians turning their homes into fortresses, refusing to kneel even in their last breath. The galaxy saw the truth. Humanity had not vanished quietly. Humanity had bled for every inch of existence. And then came the names. Rows upon rows of names scrolled across the screen, etched in fire and steel. Millions of voices, lost to war, preserved in memory. The voice of Kane thundered over the images. "You called us extinct. You called us reckless, you called us broken, but we are humanity. We fought until the stars themselves burned out, and still we did not surrender." On distant worlds, priests fell silent mid-prayer. Soldiers froze in their barracks. Children clutched their parents as the truth sank in. Kane's voice grew colder. "You believe survival was conquest. You believe strength was numbers. You were wrong. Survival is sacrifice. Strength is the will to rise again when all else falls." The broadcast shifted one last time. The view turned to the Dreadnought itself, scars glowing against its massive hull carrying the weight of centuries. Kane's voice cut through the silence like a blade. "We do not come to conquer. We do not come to destroy. We come to remind you. Humanity endures, and where we endure, impact is inevitable." The message ended. For a long moment, the galaxy was quiet. No ships moved. No leaders spoke. The only sound was the echo of the heartbeat that had haunted them from the beginning, now slower, deeper, final, ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. Then, slowly, the reactions began. On border worlds, terrified governors ordered surrender before a single shot was fired. In hidden temples, ancient prophecies were rewritten, declaring humanity the storm that could not be denied. On war-torn planets, rebels rose, inspired by the fire of a species they had once thought destroyed. And in the council chamber, Chancellor Veyron collapsed into his chair, eyes empty. "It is over," he whispered. "The age of the council is finished." But General Takar only stood, his claws trembling. For the first time in his life, he bowed his head, not in fear, but in respect. "Not finished," he said quietly. "Changed. The galaxy has a new center now, and it is human." On the bridge of the Dreadnought, Kane closed his eyes. The ship hummed with power, ready for more, but he gave no order to strike. The fleets had been broken, the message had been delivered. That was enough, for now. The AI spoke softly. Course remains for the galactic core. Shall I prepare assault protocols? Kane shook his head. His voice was steady but heavy with meaning. No. The galaxy is already shaken. Let them wonder. Let them fear the shadow on the horizon. That fear will do more than fire. He placed his hand against the cold steel of the console, where the names of the fallen were etched. His voice dropped to a whisper. This ship is not vengeance, it is memory, and memory cannot be stopped. Outside, the dreadnought surged forward, slipping into faster-than-light jump. Its destination, the heart of the Empire itself. And as it vanished into the stars, one truth remained carved into the minds of every living being who had witnessed it. Humanity had returned, and impact was inevitable.